There lay my Ray, my one and only child. He was laying on a steel table in a blue body bag, and the body bag was halfway zipped. He had a patch over his eye and a tube coming out his mouth. And I just remember standing there in awe, and when I went to rub his head, it was like he was still warm. I could feel the life leaving him because part of him was warm and part of him was getting cold. And I had asked the nurse, I said, Nurse, can you bring those paddles to hook him up, he's warm. But she said no, it was too late for that, he was already gone. So it was in that instant, the reality it was facing me, that I would never, ever again see my sons smile or hug or anything. When your child is murdered, you can be in a room with 1,000 people and not one of them can help you. It's almost like taking a glass and dropping it in the middle of the floor, and your life goes in a million different pieces. Will they help you put the pieces back together?
The Center for Victims, or the people that work there, are the nicest people that I have ever met. Even meeting them on a first-time basis, they've always been so pleasant, so warm, welcoming.
What is a normal life? An early wake-up call? A late-night shift? An out-of-town meeting? Studying for a test? We all define it differently. It's not just daily routines. It's about the simple joys of life. Meeting with friends. Time spent with family. Taking care of yourself. Our definitions are more common than we realize. We are connected to one another now more than ever. Our circle of friends and communities, both real and virtual, continue to grow, and we share our thoughts, our images, and our lives with one another. And as we share in each other's lives, we are witness to experiences and moments that resonate. There's Jill, a mother of 3 and proud grandmother who is planning her wedding. Nia, who believes that when people work together, anything is possible. William, the son of a pastor and father of 4, he dreams of a career that will allow him to help the children in his community. Jody, as a fitness instructor, she understands the importance of both physical and mental wellness, and she is an advocate for healthy individuals and healthy relationships. And Terry, the mother of an 8-year-old who just received her master's degree. What happens when normal life takes a terrible and unexpected turn?
It was a beautiful Sunday afternoon. I went to my then 13-year-old son's football game. And I was trying to find out which player was my son, because they looked really small from where I was at. So I was looking down on the field to find out where my son was, and then just chaos and confusion broke out. 2 people started shooting at each other. I didn't know either one of them. And 3 people at the game got shot, myself included. I didn't hear the shot, so I just was struck. So I looked down to see what happened, and I saw that I had been hit, and I didn't panic. Somebody called the ambulance, and in no time the ambulance was there. Somebody that was at the game came over and held pressure on my injury, because I was struck in a major artery, so I didn't bleed to death. I think I was just in shock. I was just in shock. And I was trying to figure out who I should call, to let somebody know what happened.
Stunned and numb, and alone, very alone. He had told me that if I told anyone that my mother, the classic stuff, my mother wouldn't love me, she would abandon me, and I believed him. My mother was a single mother, So I already didn't have a father. I couldn't lose my mother. So when it first happened, I felt like this hadn't happened to anyone else because nobody else would be, everyone else would be smart enough not to let that happen to themselves. I continued to feel really helpless. I don't ever remember getting angry. The first person I told was a friend of mine, and I was 11. This happened when I was about 6, 7 years old, so I didn't tell anyone for a very long time.
The night that I got shot, I was seeing angels. I got shot in my back, my left knee, and my right foot. After I got shot, I ran into the house and collapsed. I didn't know I was shot in my back. Lost a lot of blood. One paramedic said I wasn't going to make it, but the other one was praying over me and saying that you're going to make it. Got to the hospital. I went paralyzed that night. My son, he's at that age now that he understands, and he was very scared, and he had to sleep in the room with us, and he kept saying, "Daddy, I need you to be my protector." And I said, "Everything's gonna be okay."
I've been in the hospital many times since then. It's a very short walk from where I was to where Demi was, but it seemed like I was walking on air, like I was floating to this room. They had her on a gurney. Again, I was still unaware of all the injuries that she did sustain. They had a stack of blankets, I'll never forget. It must have been 15 blankets thick, all the way up to her neck. I said to the nurse, he stabbed her in the neck, and she just kind of, shook her head. And how I found out that she had been stabbed 16 times was later that evening. I was at home and the evening news was on, and they broadcasted this incident, and it said that she had been stabbed 16 times, and I just lost my mind.
After the first 5 shots, I didn't hear anything. It's like everything just shut down. I couldn't see stuff, things moving, people falling to the ground, a lot of smoke. But the main thing that I remember is wanting them to stop because my daughter was behind me, and I wanted to grab her and move her out the way. Her eyes started to kind of close and roll up in her head. And I just, her hand had slid down off of me, and I'm just rocking. And I'm looking down at her, and I'm talking to her, and I'm telling her how pretty she is, and how Grandma wants to see her. Everybody, wants to see her. And I just kept telling her how beautiful she was, and that we needed her. And she's just changing colors. It was like she was getting darker. And I knew that she was gone, but I just kept rocking. I wouldn't stop. And I wouldn't stop talking to her. I didn't know I was hit. Still didn't know I was hit.
For many, effortless tasks become impossible. Healthy relationships splinter. Overcome by the weight of their suffering, victims often disconnect, drawing away from those people, places, and things that remind them too much of the way life used to be.
I'm going to tell you about trauma. And I will tell you, a lot of times people lose their memory, concentration, and focus after a traumatic event. The brain's doing a lot of other stuff. It doesn't care whether you paid your rent or the insurance has been paid or you're getting to work on time. It says, I'm still in danger, and its job is still to keep yourself alive during this dangerous time, even though the danger actually has passed.
I was an administrative assistant for UPMC Cancer Centers. I worked at McGee Hospital. And I really liked my job and I had a lot of friends, and I was not able to return after 6 months. If you can't come back, they terminate you at that time. So I got terminated. I've worked all my life, so it's been a very, very huge adjustment. I lost my independence. I can't drive. I can't go anywhere by myself because I just don't feel comfortable physically. We're not even talking about emotionally, but just physically, I don't feel comfortable. I don't go anywhere by myself. It's changed every aspect of my life.
It's like I put up walls, and you see this person that's like, oh yeah, everything's great, everything's fine. But you don't know what's actually really going on, and that's what I did. I just kind of tried to blend in with the woodwork. I just tried to get as invisible as possible. So that's what I didn't relate to a lot of people. I didn't tell people. I kept on this like plastered smile. There are times where I don't, like I exist, I'll go to work and come home, or I would go to school and come home and exist primarily in my bedroom because it's safe in there. You know, I felt comfortable in there. But I suffer from that too, because you don't want to live your whole life just in your room, you know?
When you hear gunshots, it makes your heart race, beat real fast. When you hear sirens outside, it makes you annoyed it too. Like certain loud noises mess with your nerves.
What about trust?
I don't trust nobody. I don't talk about nothing that happened to nobody. I don't even bring up that I got shot. It keeps my head more clear.
Complete devastation. It changes everything in the blink of an eye. I mean, it's almost like you're a zombie. You know, you don't remember what day it is, you don't remember what time it is. It's just such a deep, dark, it's like you've got a wall built around you. Everybody handles it differently, but when you're in that deep of a grief, you can't recognize how other people are grieving because you can't see anything other than your own grief.
I remember waking up and I knew I had to go to work. I knew I still had a son to take care of. The bills needed to be paid. And I was under this, it was like a regular routine. It was like that's all I knew, is that I have to get up. I have to go to work. And I have to take care of my son. I have to get up. I have to go to work. And I have to take care of my son. That's all I knew at the time. I have to get up.
Out of the darkness can come the light of hope. Hope for healing. Hope for understanding. Hope for finding a new normal. Pittsburgh Center for Victims is that light. Victims often long for the ability to reach out to a safe haven for support and guidance. Some grieving family members simply seek the honor of burying their loved ones. Other victims need refuge from domestic violence or sexual assault. But most are just searching for a helping hand and a listening ear, and the opportunity to put the pieces of their lives back together. The Center for Victims shoulders the burdens that are too heavy for one person to carry alone. Their services are transforming lives and building a better community through education, assistance, and unwavering support. Here, challenges become victories, anger becomes acceptance, and victims become advocates.
Well, when I came to the centers, they started to explain to me like why I was feeling some of the things that I was feeling. And that really, really helped me because people at my house didn't understand. You know, they had, lived through the experience with me, but it didn't happen to them. It just really helped me once I came here And they explained to me that those were normal feelings and why that I was feeling that way. So it really helped me a lot.
I just came in, I sat down, and just it was a safe place, and I was just finally happy I'd found a place that felt like that. Part of the reason that I'm able to keep going is the knowledge that it is here if I need it. Just knowing that it's here makes me feel not so alone.
I got another Stellar glass. Hall of Famer. Yeah, the Center for Victims provided me with counseling. They provided me the compensation. Made me feel a lot better that I wasn't by myself. I do trust Center for Victims because they is there for me 100%. They do a lot hands-on with you. And when you first come to Center for Victims, you don't think about that.
The Center for Victims provided the most amazing support. I didn't know if there was help. Like, how's anybody going to help me with such an issue like this? And what really helped was her coming just to sit and listen to me talk. I remember telling her that I felt like I was dropped into this new world where I was blind and deaf, and I didn't know how to function. And she would just listen, and she would encourage me, and she was wonderful. Instead of healing, functioning better, maybe, I recognized being able to function better, but then again, it's more of an adaptation. You're forced to adapt to a new life. So you can look at, some people might call it healing. I call it having to adapt.
The pain, it comes, it goes. You could be happy, I mean, just having a fun, full-spirited day, and just like that, I mean, anything triggers. I know for me it does. Anything can trigger it. And you may plummet from this happiness up here to this pain and hurt way down here, you know. And the advice that I give is you have to let it out. If you have to cry, cry. If you want to break something, call me, I'll help you. We'll break it, and then once we're feeling better, we'll clean it all up. It's nice to have somebody that you trust, somebody that you can talk to, whether it be family, friends. I may not need somebody to give me the advice. Sometimes I just need to talk. Sometimes I just need to get it out because it gets heavy. And if I can just get it out, you don't even have to say anything. Just sit there. Give me your undivided attention and just let it out. It's gonna hurt. I mean, it's been over 11 years and it still hurts, you know, but you have to somewhere find in there the joy. Remembering them makes me happy, you know, thinking about the smiles on their faces, certain things that we did. So it helps to let it out.
They're just that extended hand to help you back on your feet. I'm telling you, words can't describe the gratitude I have for the Center for Victims because it all started right here for me. I'll tell the world, support them because their heart is in the work.
Violence is a word that's lost some of its weight today. Maybe it's because we see violence in many forms and its many victims entirely too often. It's become the background noise, and too many times we brush it off as an issue that other people have to deal with. We are all connected, and violence affects all of us. And many among us have discovered the unthinkable can intervene at any moment. The page turns, and a challenging new chapter of life begins. Under it all is one simple truth. It doesn't matter who you are, where you live, or who you may know. Violence does not discriminate. Violence can happen to anyone. If you or anyone you know is a victim of domestic violence, sexual assault, child abuse, homicide, or any form of violence, contact Pittsburgh Center for Victims or your local victims advocacy group or 911.